I have a question for you all. Who told us that when we become adults, we no longer need the village? What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 53 of the Building the Village podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Brandon W. Jones, your Chief Village Building Strategist, and I'm going to just jump right into this episode. Today, we're going to spend some time talking about why we need the village. Now, you've heard it said that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I want to expound on that statement by adding to it in a way that makes sense to me. I believe that it not only takes a village to raise a child, but it also is going to take a village to nurture and develop healthy and holistically well adults. Back in episode 10 of the podcast, when it was still just audio, I defined the village this way: as a community of individuals intentionally assembled to support the holistic development of its members. And so I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the lines, I feel like we completely abandoned the concept of the village. And you don't have to look far to see this in action. We don't really look after each other's kids anymore like we used to. We don't really show up for others in the ways that are needed. There's an entire loneliness epidemic going on in Japan that you can look up for that. We've forgotten how to communicate with each other. We're too busy for the village. And more importantly, we don't value community in the ways that we used to. And this is why the Building the Village podcast exists. And so I want to spend the rest of our time together discussing why we need the village. Here's the first reason. Number one, the village ensures that no one walks alone. In the wild, it's the animal that strays away from the herd that starves and gets picked off by predators. So if you've ever watched National Geographic or watched any of those TV shows that allow that show you an inside look at how nature works and how pack animals hunt and work together, one of the things that ends up happening is that lone animal, you know what I'm talking about, that wolf or that sheep or that animal that strays away from the rest of the pack or the herd, that's the one that always gets picked off. And no, I'm not comparing human beings to animals. But what I am saying is that in similar situations, those of us who like to isolate and be alone and do things the lone wolf way, that's not going to work in a situation that calls for the village. And so one of the things I want to challenge us to think about is what would happen if we took this village mindset, this intentional assembly of people for the betterment of their community. What if we took this group and what if we took this concept and we made the decision to, I don't know, attack literacy at our local elementary schools? Or what would happen if we decided that we were going to get together and we're going to help a group like Big Brothers Big Sisters empty its wait list? Or if we're going to attack an issue that's plaguing our community together as a village, what kind of community would we have? And not only what kind of community, what kind of world would we have if we were able to do that? And so I want to challenge you today as you're listening to think about all these reasons that we're naming for why we need the village, but especially thinking about the fact that nobody has to walk alone. All right. Now, here's the second point, and I think this second point is going to be very important. The first one being that no one needs to walk alone, but the second one is the village is better with others in it, especially when there's alignment in that village. Okay. My pastor says this quote from Gary Smalley all the time, and it says, life is relationships and the rest is just details. It truly takes a village. And when I talk about alignment, what I'm saying is that you want people in the village doing what they do best. And so let me give you an example. In episode 52, we had Ingrid with us, and Ingrid's a librarian. And we talked about the importance of librarians and the things that librarians bring to the village. We also talk about mental health practitioners and teachers and the elderly. And I want to pause for a second to talk about the elderly, because I think that that's something very important that we need to note. Earlier, you heard me mention that there's a loneliness epidemic going on, I believe in Japan. And this is one of the articles that my wife and I were reading a few months ago. And one of the things that's happening is that in Japan, and in other places, what you're finding is that the elderly there's this loneliness epidemic is so bad amongst the elderly that some of them have turned to committing small crimes so that they can get arrested and get put with other people. And that's an issue. I don't know about anybody else, but I think that that's a problem because, one, the elderly are some of the most vulnerable in any population. And so in a society or in a world and in a place with millions of people, that there are groups that actually can be around all these millions of people and yet still feel lonely and isolated. And so when we're properly aligned, when librarians are free to do what they do best, when the barbers, the mentors, the preachers, even the politicians are doing what they're aligned and called to do, I think that we can have a better village. We can have a better community. And no, you're not going to have 100% agreement amongst any of those groups. I'm not asking for agreement. What I'm looking for is in the village to have more people pursuing understanding, because when we pursue understanding, we're less likely to, lump people into groups and categorize and judge, and more importantly, leave people to fend for themselves. And so I really think that if we're going to make the impact that we hope to make in the village, that we do it in a way that is in alignment and allows people to do what it is that they do best. Last but certainly not least, reason number 3, the village can help change the world. At the University of Texas, our motto is what starts here changes the world. That's a culture, if you will. Culture, by definition, is a way of life. And so where do we learn these things that we call culture? Well, we learn them in the village. And that's why the tagline for this podcast is building better villages, one villager at a time. And so one of the things that I hope you get from this conversation is that we need each other. We need to work together. We need to be in alignment. We need to make sure that no one walks alone. But more importantly, we want to make sure that we're connecting with each other and we're establishing culture, because in culture and establishing a way of life, what we're able to do is say things like, hey, we're going to be committed to service. We're going to be committed to literacy. We're going to be committed to making sure that every child is able to read on grade level in this community. Or in our culture, we're going to ensure that we serve those in need. We're not just going to do that a couple of times a year. It's going to be who we are. And by defining the culture, by creating an environment where the culture is changed and it's changed for the better, and better being defined by that group, that's how we get better villages. This is how the best athletic teams create those winning traditions. This is how societies change and evolve over time. And so my encouragement to all of you listening today is to remember that we absolutely need the village right here and right now. And the way that we do that is through those small, not those large grand gestures, but those small, meaningful gestures over time have the greatest impact. And so until we talk together again, let's take care of ourselves and each other. Have a good one. Hey, everybody, if you like today's episode, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And then also go to my link tree at B Jones Speaks. You can also follow me on Instagram at B Jones Speaks. And if you're not already doing so, make sure that you're subscribing on YouTube at, you guessed it, B Jones Speaks. See you next time.